All right, this lay lesson is entitled Leading from the Second Chair. I'm your presenter, Matthew Douglas, and this is from the Lay Study Guide, the Connectional Lay Organization Lay Study Guide, and it can be found on page 42. The lay lesson focus. This course is intended to provide a close and personal perspective on leading effectively in ministry and secondary positions. The course will increase awareness on the need for strong leaders in these positions and further equip them with the capacity to learn and grow while in this position. Also, this course will continue to shift the traditional paradigm and hierarchical lens of what it means to lead ministry in a secondary role. Course objective. Upon completing the completion of this course, Lady will have clarity on the role of the second chair leaders. Attendees will leave with a better understanding of the second chair leadership role, the importance of being a team player, cultivating their gift, and be encouraged to partner with fellow laity and clergy to continue the work towards advancing of the kingdom of God. Lay lesson facts. In the Washington Conference, where I'm a member of, in 2001, the chair, Pastor William H. Lamar, and the dean, Reverend Marlene Mitchell, the Board of Examiners approached myself, Sister Solaria Moore is on the line, and two executive ministers in the Washington Conference who effectively serve in the Washington Conference to teach a course to the second-year students of the Board of Examiners entitled Leading from the Second Chair. Lay lesson concept. Being a second chair leader is the ultimate leadership paradox. It is the paradox of being both a leader and a subordinate, having both a deep and wide role, and being content with the present while dreaming about the future. Those who strive in this role learn to live with the tension and even prosper in the midst of the tension. The takeaways from this lesson will be the laity will grasp the importance of understanding, articulating, implementing the leader's vision while leading God's people from the perspective of the second chair. Number two, laity will be able to better articulate the various paradoxes that leaders in the second chair will encounter and will walk away with strategies to overcome these paradoxes. Number three, laity will come away with a better understanding of how to partner with the laity and clergy to support the organizational goals and mission. This is the book, Leading from the Second Chair. This book was introduced to me by the immediate past president of the Connectional Women's Missionary Society, Dr. Shirley Cason Reed, and through Sister D. Conley, who is the former Washington Conference WMS president. This was gifted to me and I found it beneficial before being asked to teach the class. And hopefully you will purchase this book and find some nuggets in it to help you in your secondary and in your leadership roles. The preface. This book was birthed out of Mike and Roger's realization. You need to meet people on where they are and the possible positions they may be placed in. Teaching persons who are not in the first chair principles on how to serve in the second chair is key to maximizing ministry. Wanting to know how to navigate the obstacles faced in subordinate roles and how to capitalize on the opportunities of untapped potential will lead to elevation or the realization that you are content being a second chair leader. I feel the lessons in the book are milestones triggering acts and warning signs you can learn from, digest, and be intentional about how you will navigate the second chair positions. And when you are blessed to be in a leadership position, remember what it felt like to be in a second chair and support role and support those under your leadership. As the authors describe what beyond their experiences look like, everyone's experiences in this class is uniquely different. Yes, if you are at the same church in the same district or same organization, your experience is different. Living in the paradox. A second chair leader is a person in a subordinate role whose influence with others adds value throughout the organization. Second chair leadership is unique because it is not strictly based on the power and authority of positional leadership. While most second chair leaders have some degree of positional authority, those who strive to find much of their success through influence and relationship. You don't have to be the number 2 from the top of the org chart in an organization to be a second chair leader. Let me say that again. You don't have to be the number 2 from the top of the org chart in an organization to be a second chair leader. Our definition can include anyone who is not the lead leader. In nearly any position on the totem pole, you have the potential to be a second chair leader. Leading from the second chair involves a special set of tensions. We describe these tensions as the 3 paradoxes of second chair leadership: subordinate leader, deep and wide, and content dreaming. These 3 paradoxes, which we will explore in this lesson, represent daily tensions from the second chair leader and require a special leadership lens that brings clarity to the challenges of the 3 paradoxes. That lens is trifocal, allowing you to focus on how you manage your relationships, subordinate leader, your work habits, deep and wide, and your emotions, content dreamer. For any organization to thrive, second chair leaders must do well. Do the math. There are a lot more second chair leaders than first chair leaders. They need to be equipped, supported, and most of all, allowed to be leaders. A lot of second chairs see their current position as an intermediate point or stepping stone towards the goal of a first chair. One purpose of this lesson is to encourage you to be patient and learn as much as you can in your current role, because too many leaders focus all their energy on moving to the next chair as quickly as possible and miss the opportunity to grow and develop their gifts in the current chair that they're in. The scriptural reference at this point is found in Proverbs chapter 11, verses 14. Where there is no guidance, the people fall, but in abundance of counselors, there is victory. Am I a second chair leader? That's the question we must ask ourselves. Your title or position may imply you are a second chair leader, but the question really is, are you a second chair leader? Are you adding value throughout the organization? These questions have little to do with your official role. It is everything, and it has everything to do with what kind of influence you have. As John Maxwell says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Regardless of your official position, your influence will grow as you build strong relationships, make wise decisions, give good counsel, etc. While it is certainly easier to obtain influence if you are the first chair, the one who regularly presides, guides decisions, or participates in key leadership groups. These principles are just as important for the second chair, but may take longer. Building credibility requires patience, persistence, and consistency. It requires a spirit of teamwork and cooperation. It isn't easy, but it is also absolutely necessary if you are going to be effective. In order to frame a picture of effective second chair leadership, let's break down some key characteristics you need to have. 1, you need to be subordinate. Even the most capable second chair is still under the leadership of someone else. The first chair may have an egalitarian style, but they are still the leader. They need to have influence. Influence is evident in people's readiness to follow you, their desire to include you in key decisions and initiatives. You need to work to engage others. Any leadership role involved in a broad network of relationships with many people, some successful second chair leaders must excel at relationships. The second chair leader needs to add value. Adding value can be seen in helping make better decisions and adding creativity to programs, strengthening team relationships, or being a sounding board for a colleague. Adding value means looking for ways to improve the organization and help those around you be more successful. A second chair leader needs to touch all aspects of the organization. Besides their particular area of responsibility, second chairs have to have an organizational wide perspective. Here's another scripture reference, Philippians chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. And it's there, and you can read it at your leisure when you review this lesson. The first paradox is subordinate leader. Subordinate leader. And the two topics are taking it from the top and crossing the line. Here's another scriptural reference. Above all else, guide your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Proverbs chapter 4, verses 23. Taking it from the top. Whether you feel effective or not in your role as the second chair, it probably has a lot to do with your relationship with the first chair. If the relationship is healthy, you will find a sense of freedom and fulfillment in your job and position, irrespective of the responsibilities assigned. But if there is a tension, it is difficult to feel successful even if the organization is flourishing. That's why anyone who aspires to realize his or her own potential as a second chair leader must start at the top, with the top relationship, that is. That relationship between the top two chairs is critical. These leaders are often attracted by the other's opposite strengths, but they recognize the value of complementary skills. But those differences can sow the seeds of conflict too. Complementary strengths can pull in opposing and divisive directions if the relationship is not cultivated. To be subordinate. For most leaders, subordinate is not an appealing word. It seems to be the opposite of leader. But we believe that effective second chair leadership practices both. So, what is the subordination? It is recognizing and accepting that you are not the leader. It is acknowledging that you do not have the final authority, nor do you have the ultimate responsibility. But it is more about the recognition and acceptance. It includes serving with humility and gladness. Subordination grows out of reverence for God, recognizing that He is the ultimate source of authority. It requires loyalty to the first chair, covering his or her back when the heat is on. It includes recognizing that God has called the first chair to the role and be committed to supporting him or her in their position. The real test of subordination comes when your first chair does something you dislike or disagree with. What do you do then? There are three options: fight, flight, stay involved without confrontation. Flight, openly disagree with and challenge your first chair. Flight, walk away wounded and feel like giving up. Stay involved without confrontation. You accept the decision for what it is, but stay involved in the decision, accepting the first chair's final decision, whatever it may be. Being deeply involved and not being insubordinate, even in disagreement, is the tension of the role. You may know that the relationship with you and the first chair leader is important, but are your words and actions consistent with that? Ask yourself this question: would I rather have the right answer or the right relationship? This question often confuses second chair leaders who don't believe they should have to choose. In an ideal world, you wouldn't have to. But in the real world of human frailty, egos, and miscommunication, this trade-off is common. Learning to put the relationship first opens the door for more influence later. For second chair leaders, developing trust is more important than any other character quality or ministry skill. It lays the foundation for an effective partnership. Reaching a level of complete trust requires faithful service, but more than that, it requires patience over a long period of time. What specifically is required to build the kind of trust that maximizes a second chair leader is the question. First, it means staying in the relationship and being willing to be a subordinate. But that does not mean playing it safe. Second chair leaders need to be bold and make a difference in their organization. Mutual respect, complementary skills, and common vision and passion are also key qualities. The final trust builder is simply time. If you aren't prepared to be patient while trust grows, you are unlikely to reach your full potential as a second chair leader. When your relationship with your first chair is filled with trust and your gifts complement each other, many benefits follow. Communicationship improves. The entire work environment becomes more relaxed and enjoyable. The entire team becomes more unified. Ultimately, the benefit of being in the right relationship is the opportunity to see your ministry and that of those around you soar to the next level. On the other hand, if your relationship with your first chair isn't good, negative consequences will follow. Frequently, a loss of confidence results in being micromanaged. Other times, your input may not be sought as frequently. If the ultimate benefit of a right relationship is growing influence, the ultimate consequence of a wrong relationship is lost influence and lost opportunity. The best way to counteract this is to be sensitive to the relationship and remediate any problems quickly. Great leaders don't set out to be a leader. They set out to make a difference. It's never about the role, always about the goal. Crossing the line. If after spending years building a strong, trust-based relationship with your first chair, there will be points of conflict. Discord may be caused by personal clashes, unresolved issues from the past, or difference in differing visions. Another major cause of conflict is when the second chair crosses over an invisible line. Something said or done is perceived as overstepping authority or even bordering on insubordination. Since a second chair is a leader, it's natural for her to take initiative which can lead to problems. In short, when a well-meaning second chair takes initiative, she may be unintentionally running counter to the desires of the lead leader. She or he can cross a line. Healthy long-term relationships between first chair and second chair leaders require three things: recognition of the existence of the line, flexibility and placement of the line, and caution in crossing the line. We need to recognize that a line always exists. It defines responsibility and authority. It is much more than what is conveyed in a job description or position description. Second, those who cross the line do so at their own peril. Crossing the line is insubordination, and the relationship between the chairs cannot survive if insubordination exists. Thirdly, it is possible to proactively move the line. It takes time and trust, but second chair roles can be reshaped. To bring it back full circle, many second chair leaders begin to have problems when they accidentally cross a line they failed to recognize. So how does a second chair identify a line? It is almost always more than the official job description. Often it includes special assignments. Ultimately, you can learn where the lines are both by both observing the style and preference of the first chair and by pursuing good communication. When in doubt as to where the line is, ask for clarification. It also is also turn and also time is on your side. The longer you serve with the first chair, the clearer the line tends to become. Experience is a great teacher for finding the line. If you don't know where the line is, there is a good chance you will cross it. Even if you have a clear understanding of the line, you may still step over it sometimes in your career or in your position. But it is a risky thing to do. Sometimes it's accidental. In that case, all you can do is apologize. The more problem the more troubling type of line crossing is intentional. This occurs when you know where the line is and decide to cross it anyway. This is insubordination. When you cross the line on purpose, you abandon the subordinate leader paradox. You decide that it is more important to be right on an issue than right in a relationship. Except in rare cases, crossing the line intentionally is unacceptable. When is it permissible to cross the line? If you have been seriously mistreated by your first chair leader, it may be appropriate to seek outside assistance. That does not mean a simple disagreement. It means a pattern of harmful behaviors. The second case occurs if you are certain that the first chair is guilty of a serious moral or ethical failure. Either of these instances should be rare. Note, losing an argument does not merit seeking outside help. Failure of a new program that was championed by the first chair is not the same as a moral failure. Sometimes you know where the line is, but you're simply unhappy with it. In that case, how do you move it? Wanting to move it usually means you are seeking to expand the scope of your responsibility or authority. The first chair is to be faithful with the task you have been given. The second is to take on an honest look at your motives. Why do you want line to why do you want to move the line? If it is for self-promoting reasons, slow down. If your motives are pure, if they could be misconstrued by others as self-promoting, you may want to slow down again. As long as you are the second chair leader, the line is not going away. Don't think of this line as prison. Rather, it is a challenging balancing act. It requires the second chair leader to be both loyal, dependable subordinate, and a highly effective leader. The second paradox is deep and wide. This is actually one of my favorite ones. It's a matter of perspective, building a team one relationship at a time, and putting it into practice. The deep wide paradox acknowledges that the second chair leaders have both roles that are narrow and deeper in scope than those of the first chair, and yet they need to have a broad and organizational wide perspective. They need to be a strategic system thinker, at the same time manage a variety of ministry areas with excellence. I like this picture right here because, well, we don't have too many of these around, but when you look at one of these glaciers, we always focus on the top. And to me, that's the deep thinking. You always look and all you see is the top of the glacier. But this picture illustrates the wide, what's beneath of it. Some people only see what's on the surface of our ministry or on the surface of our organization. And if you have been at this long enough, there's so much that goes on in the background or under the surface to make programs and things run. And so the second chair leader, they focus in on what people see, but then they're also there to help make the ship run behind closed doors. Regardless of a church's size, there may be many people who handle different aspects of the church's activities, yet the second chair leader is still expected to be a part of it all. The second chair is expected to know the details of different situations or parts of the church, but also be able to see the overall picture. Deep, getting into the details, wide, overall understanding. There may be situations or circumstances where the second chair needs to be deeper involved in a particular event, project, or initiative than others. But it is still a good idea for the second chair to remain current with the details of the church and how it's functioning throughout all areas. The paradox can be a gift or a curse, and it's a lesson you can see and learn on your own without being called on the carpet by the first chair leader or your peers. On page 66 of the book, it reads, if a first chair is not well versed in details, it is excused because he or she is the visionary leader, a big picture person. But if the second chair fails to cover the deep, wide continuum, their performance is questioned. But I would like to add that there are some persons in the first chair whose vision is the opposite of big picture. And if the first chair if the first chair overlooks or is not intimately involved, the second chair may inadvertently take some liberties that comes back to bite them in the behind. This is very small, so please bear with me. Let's say there's a kickoff meeting for a church anniversary program, and the pastor is late, but the second chair takes it upon themselves to start the meeting. They have no information on the direction of the first chair was led to or wanted the event to be planned. Or my favorite, in the month of August, when a lot of pastors go on vacation, and some second chair leaders think that they are the interim pastor while the assigned pastor is on vacation. Both instances speak to what happens when one's thinking is not centered on the big picture but focused on ego. There may be situations or circumstances where the first chair needs to be deeper involved in particular events, projects. This is a repeat. Regardless of a church's size, there may be many people who handle different aspects of the church's activities. Yet the second chair leader is to be a part of it all. That's a repeat. The second chair is expected. This whole slide is repeat. A matter of perspective. Some look at the glass half empty. Some look at the glass half full. So it's always going to be a matter of perspective. And the second chair leader, I feel, is in the crosshairs. Remember the balancing act? You have to know when something is half empty or half full. But we all, regardless of what situation we're in, have a matter of perspective. And so that's why it's always good to have communication, to have an open thought process, and to be a system or strategic thinker. The most important concept of learning to see deep and wide is system thinking. System thinking is a way of helping a person to view systems from a broad perspective that includes seeing overall structures, patterns, and cycles in systems, rather than seeing only specific events in the system. System thinking helps you understand that a change in one aspect of the congregation ripples through the rest of the body. Example, we want to host annual conference at our church. Is our church big enough? Do we have enough expendable income to host? Do we have enough ministry volunteers and persons with technical skills to handle all of the functions that will be needed? How will we feed everybody? In order to develop a systems perspective, you need to ask a lot of why and what if questions. The point of asking these type of questions is to gain a broader perspective. So don't just ask your first chair, ask everyone you can, and be willing to answer questions. Having others ask you questions will help you think through the idea. It's okay to admit that you don't know a subject, event history. You're gaining knowledge through research and asking questions, and that can change your perspective. Can someone in the second chair really add value through the organization? The answer is yes. Effective second chair leaders need to develop a deep, wide perspective that will allow them to be effective in their areas of responsibility and to add value through the organization. The truth is that adding value throughout the organization is not a function of position. It's a matter of perspective. Some second chair leaders primarily see the big picture, but get lost in the details. At the other end of the continuum are the leaders who have deep knowledge of their specific areas of responsibility, but often fail to see how their actions and activities affect other parts of the congregation. The challenge for a second chair leader is to be both deep and wide, to be effective in a particular area of ministry while maintaining a broad church-wide perspective. Building the team one relationship at a time. If I were to ask each of you, what does it take to build a team, or what is the first step to build a team, your answers would vary and be rightfully so. The example in the book of Greg Hawkins is a unique story, But in the context of the lay organization, we all come from different ministerial configurations. And depending on how you want God to lead your ministry, it could continue to change. Don't get so caught up in your current situation that you will not be able to function in various types of situations. I've been in church situations where someone comes in and thinks they know everything because they went to a particular church or were involved in a particular situation. This chapter in the book and principles remind us of the invisible line back in chapter 4, but this time it is referring to the interactions with your peers. If the first chair has established that you are the second chair, there are still rules of engagement with your peers. Stay in your swim lane. Most of you may not know, some of you do. I'm a huge NASCAR fan. And so I found this picture and I use this when teaching the Board of Examiner because it kind of illustrates how we should act and be in ministry. Yes, I know ministry is not the same as race car, but if we're talking about the team perspective and building teams, the one thing we need to do, especially as a first chair and second chair leader, is recognize people's gifts. If you can't if you can stand on your feet a long time but you can't hold a tune, then the choir is not for you. You should be an usher. If you can't balance your own checkbook, then the counting room is not for you. So leaders, the longer you're with the leader or the more involved the leader is, they kind of know and understand. And sometimes persons tell leaders what their strengths are. And so everybody has a role in the lay organization. Everybody has a role in our local church. I was at church on Sunday and the pastor said the startling statistic about church is that 75% of our members are not involved in any ministry. So when it comes to the lay organization, yes, we have our structure, but there is so much more we could be doing as a lay organization, as a missionary society, collectively. So you have to know what your position is. My favorite on a NASCAR team is the person who changes the tires. So if you ever watch the race, there's somebody who jumps over the wall with two tires in their hand, one for the front, one for the back. The person drills out the one tire and other person puts it on, they drill it back, then they go around the other side and do it again. The average pit stop in a NASCAR is less than 30 seconds. So they have to work in unison. They have to be on one accord. If somebody's having a bad day, of course it will show. And sometimes the same thing in our lay organization. If somebody's not having a good day or there's some discord, it'll show when the product of ministry is put on display. John Maxwell said, "Nothing of significance was ever achieved by an individual acting alone. Look below the surface and you will find that all seemingly solo acts are really team efforts. I am clear, almost crystal clear, that you may be lead to or assigned to a ministry, that you will be the team to a certain degree until you tap into the deep and wide paradox and implement some system thinking on how to get you away from being the pastor, secretary, steward, a trustee, choir member, usher board, all at the same time. Or the second chair position, you may be called upon to be the youth minister, depending on your church size, men or women's ministry, etc., depending on your church size. Have what Here's what I'm saying. Learn how to be a team player, play multiple positions, and have an understanding that your ministry is tailor-made for you. But you may not be able to dictate where you serve. From a church perspective, ordained on Saturday, from a clergy perspective, ordained on Saturday, relocated on a Sunday. It takes time for an effective team to develop. It doesn't happen by decree. The emergence of a functional team typically occurs over months or years. Normally, it takes time to develop a deep understanding of each other's unique ability, as well as to learn how to communicate and make decisions together. But in most instances, time is not a luxury and the need is immediate. Must keep your finger on the pulse of the organization. Putting it into practice. Deep and wide is the essence of how second chair leaders spend their time. It is how they fulfill their God-given potential. In practice, second chair leaders need to be flexible in their job. If you see the big picture and define your role as whatever is best for the organization, your specific duties are certain to change over time. Being deep and wide requires you to be a generalist, as well as demonstrating competency in specific areas. The respect and credibility that your competence brings is what gives you a platform for speaking into other areas. There are four practices can make you a deep wide uh there are four practices that can make you a deep wide leader. Be a pause taker. Know what others are thinking and feeling is valuable information for you in the first chair. You are in a unique position to keep your finger on the pulse of the organization. Often, the senior pastor has the worst seat in the house when it comes to the pause taking. Many members don't just tell what they are really thinking to the pastor. For most second chair leaders, a uh, firm rule governing their relationship with the first chair is no surprise. As the second chair, it is your job to know what is going on and to give advice to him or her, and notice the problem or issues that they are facing. Be a vision amplifier. While the first chair is the primary vision caster, a second chair leader has many opportunities to repeat, clarify, and reinforce the vision. In taking the pulse, you also have an opportunity to influence the pulse. Every significant conversation you have with a leader is an opportunity for you to help that person understand the vision. Be a leader multiplier. Identify and recruit other leaders who can help achieve the vision should be an ongoing priority. As you amplify the vision, you will become aware of people who are excited about it and have leadership potential. Any God-given vision requires a growing base of leaders, and every organization has people who are not maximizing their potential. It should be a focused priority to get those people in the game and help them to develop. Be a gap filler. If there is no other leader who can serve in a crucial role, the second chair leader, a critical role, the second chair leader should be prepared to fill the gap. This role seems to resonate most deeply with many of the second chair leaders who we have spoken with. Gap filling is often a function of the first chair's strengths or weaknesses. No one excels in all areas of leadership. Whatever the first chair's weakness may be, the strongest and most effective organization is created when the second chair fills the gaps. The third paradox is content dreaming. Contentment in the second chair, dreaming in the second chair, and leaving the second chair. You, God, are my God. Earnestly I seek you. I thirst for you. My whole being longs for you in a dry and parched land wherever there is no water. Psalm 63:1. The content dreamer paradox captures the internal struggle we all encounter as leaders. This tension stems from our own understanding of our dreams and calling. Whether you believe God has called you to be the first chair role, or you believe you are called to be a second chair, you will have seasons of internal struggle. When your heart desires seems compatible with serving faithfully and diligently wherever God has currently placed you. But if you strive to find contentment today, God can begin to teach you to become all that you dream of being tomorrow. Contentment in the second chair is your choice to stay and grow and excel for a season. Regardless of current circumstances, the foremost part of this definition is that contentment is a choice. Contentment is possible if you choose to understand that something more is always at work in your experiences, beyond your needs, expectations, and frustrations. We all go through seasons of waiting, whether in a prison experience or something less drastic. Even 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 when we are not waiting for God to move us somewhere else, we may have to wait for an organization that does not quickly change. How we respond while waiting tells us and those around us much about our faith. Two competing forces pull at us during this season: the pace of society and the grace of God. We should always be on the lookout for the next opportunity and contentment in the second chair. Never staying in one place too long. To adopt that approach makes experiencing contentment difficult. It's a recipe for dissatisfaction. On the other hand, God's grace can offset and overcome our impatience. In the challenging seasons of waiting, we have a unique opportunity to experience the grace of God at a whole new level. How can we experience God's grace as we seek to find contentment in the second chair? While there is no particular formula, there are some sources of contentment to keep in mind. Your identity in Christ and making your own spiritual growth a priority. Remembering your calling will help you stay anchored. Contentment can be encouraged through developing healthy relationships. Celebrating the fruit of ministry helps you see how you make a difference. There are some significant challenges to contentment that we need to face and overcome. Some are outside of our control. Our first chair changes, our church finances decline, forcing you to shelve a much anticipated program. Other forces are more without. Other forces are more within your control. Lack of patience with God's timing, lack of awareness of God's bigger picture, and lack of skills to do the work that is required. And you see the second steps, and we'll just move right along. Dreaming in the second chair. What are your dreams? In your heart of hearts, what do you long to see God do in and through your life? These questions lie at the heart of your leadership journey. They drive your sense of destiny and purpose in life. Vocational second chair leaders often think that they are not allowed to dream big dreams. A sense of purpose found in our calling, but unfortunately, it stops there. Uh, we never take the next step of contemplating where this might lead. Just as you pursue contentment, the paradox is that you also must pursue your dreams wholeheartedly. You should be scared of not fulfilling your dreams. God made the human heart to dream, and the dream that is most fulfilling of all is the one He has put in your heart. It's our job to steward that dream. How do we do that? Several ways. Be careful what you say and to whom you say it to. Other people may not be able to understand or appreciate what God has put in your heart. Look for trusted advisors who are for you and will be both supportive and honest. Check your ego at the door. Those with great dreams may also have great confidence they will accomplish them with God's help. Sometimes God's help part gets lost, and they may be perceived as arrogant or overconfident. Your willingness to serve others before and after you share your dream will help ensure you aren't seen as an arrogant dreamer. Practice both now and later. The lesson of now and later is simple. God expects your best effort now so you will be prepared for all that He has planned to do in and through you later. Trust God in the details. God may give a dream, but we usually do not know the details of how the dream is to be fulfilled. Getting too committed to our idea of the details can lead to frustration and even doubting the vision itself. There are always aspects God doesn't show us ahead of time. Another aspect of dreaming relates to dreaming with your first chair. Some say that it is impossible. We say it is, although it's not easy. A first chair dreams for the organization is often big and broad, but may not answer all of the questions, all the how questions. This gives the second chair plenty of room to pursue their vision, so long as it's in line with the general direction given by the first chair. To do so, you need to make sure that you thoroughly understand the vision of the first chair. What's next? Leaving the second chair. Almost all second chair leaders leave their position eventually, but not all leave well. One notable hindrance to the long-term success of second chair leaders is when they move prematurely or leave poorly. In doing so, they may miss valuable lessons that would serve them well. Some leave for a first chair role, some take a new second chair position, and others retire or, in our instance, don't seek re-election. Whatever you think the future may hold, you can benefit by reflecting on the time and the process of leaving well. That process begins before you arrive in your new position. Be honest about your skill set, and getting clarity regarding expectations will help set you up for a positive ministry experience, which is a precursor to leaving well. In terms of leaving, the first question is, how do you know when you should stay or go? And there are several factors for that. And you see the factors here. How will leaving affect those around you? When is it right for you to? Is it right for everyone? Is your role continuing to offer growth, challenge, and opportunity? Do your skills still match the needs of the organization you are leading? And here are some more facts. Some people are too much of a hurry, in too much of a hurry, like I'm in too much of a hurry to talk, and leave too soon. They try to force a change so they can move to the next ministry challenge. Others hang on too long out of fear of the unknown and get comfortable within the status quo. It is possible to prepare in advance for a change. Building and maintaining relationships is important. Your network may hold the keys to your next step. There is always a financial dimension when changing leadership or changing roles too that may impact the organization. The final factor is mental. Knowing that a change is likely at some point allows you to make the most of your time. If you are committed to personal and spiritual growth, you can become a better leader and leave a legacy behind. The references I used were the Bible and this book, Leading from the Second Chair, Serve Your Church, Fulfilling Your Role, and Realizing Your Dreams. And then we will go into question and answers. And Shanae, you can stop the camera. Let me stop the recording. All right. Do we have any questions, comments? Sister Larry Moore.
Good evening. I just want to say that, and Matthew, you may have said this in the beginning, but the purpose of this with the second year itinerants who are in the Board of Examiners and also for laity is to provide a real close-up look and perspective, your perspective on what it means to be an effective second chair. So when you think about the second chair, because, and this is what I always say, my example that I like to use is what Bishop Anderson used all the time, that you have to love the people. And so that when you look at that close-up perspective, what is your perspective of being a second chair? What does that mean for laity? Does that mean you agree with the pastor if you're a steward all the time? No, but it means that you don't announce it in a church conference, your displeasure. You go and talk to that pastor one-on-one and say what it is and have that discussion with she or he about what your feeling is and what your position is. And it's really important, I think, for leaders, because stewards have to remember, we are not there for the pastor, we are there for the good of the church. And so that if you have that perspective, number one, you have to know who you are. And you have to have the confidence in who you are and able to approach the pastor. And then when you have a pastor that does not see eye to eye and might be a little difficult because of, people are people, even pastors, then you use those skills that you have that you know that you already have when you work with people who are difficult? And how do you handle that? I guess basically that's what I wanted to say about this, that this is an opportunity for us to really have a discussion with these students and with these the second year class, because they have read the chapters and we can have an open discussion and throw out questions to them for them to answer in order for them and for ourselves, every time we do this, for me anyway, to gain a real deeper, closer perspective of what it means to be a leader in the second chair. That's all I had to say, Matthew. I might have been rambling, but that's all I have to say.
Any other questions, comments? All right, hearing none. Seeing. Give me 1 second. Thank you. All right. Thank everyone for joining tonight. Seeing no other hands or questions. Two things as a point of information. If you have not booked your hotel room for the midwinter meeting to be held February 8th through the 10th, I think the last day is the 12th for that. By tomorrow morning, you will be receiving from our Director of Public Relations and Correspondence Secretary survey that the CLO under President McKeedy is asking us to fill out in regards to the strategic plan for the CLO, which cascades down to our local level and helps us plan for on the district level. So you'll be seeing that. We will be having a component meeting at the midwinter meeting. The time has not been provided to us yet, so we will post that and send that out once we have that information. Again, thank you all. This will be posted to the website, and we will also send it out via email. My daughter asked if she could close us out in prayer tonight, and so Charlotte will come. Her birthday was January the 1st. She is now 7 years old. She will come and close us out in a word of prayer.
Bow your heads and close your eyes. Thank you, God, for this day. Thank you for letting us provide this meeting for my dad and for his students. In Jesus' name, pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, baby. All right, everyone. Have a good evening, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank